This is Brother Jamal here going live on my YouTube channel. Once again, this is Brother Jamal going live here on my YouTube channel. If you have any feedback that you want to give us as far as comments about the video or any kind of questions, please comment section and we'll make sure we get back with you on that. I did a video yesterday and I was just thinking there's a need to do like this would be like one, maybe like history now and then, because what prompted me to see that is that I see so many people on social media talking about history, giving out incorrect information about history that's not correct. And so I said there's a need to correct, at least try to make a correction on that, on certain things and make sure the facts are straight about it as it relates to history. Because if you don't have a clear understanding of what has happened in the past, this is how we end up repeating the same mistakes and repeating the same thing as for future-wise as it relates to history. Oftentimes, this is what happens. So it's important that we get the history right, dates, times, places, who did what and when and where. Those things are extremely important. So in saying that, one of the things I want to mention, and I probably mentioned this on the video yesterday too, I want to mention this again. Understanding the history of what you see, some of the African countries that you see and what they're going through right now, like a transformation of like a whole shift of Black power in the African countries. Because what they have, Malcolm said some time ago that there will come a time when the Black man around the world will wake up to what was happening. And once he did, he would begin to understand and begin to kick the enemy out of his country, get him out of his country, get him out of his backyard. And so what you see, just what Malcolm said, you see it in some of his interviews where he's talking about once the Black man wakes up and realize and acknowledge what's been going on, it's going to be a new awakening. And this is what you see in so many of the African countries today's time. Why do I say that? I said because understand, look, when Malcolm used to go and make trips to Africa, and he met with Joe Kenyatta of Kenya, when he met with Patrice Lumumba of the Congo, when he met Nkrumah, Nigeria, when he met with these leaders, so much of the discussion he met with them and talked about, Malcolm established an organization called the African Organization, OAU. He established that. That was Malcolm who established that. And his connection was with the African leaders to establish some trading and other things that we would be doing with our brothers and sisters in Africa. Malcolm was the one that set that up. He was the one who established that, see? So when you understand the history and the connection of Malcolm X, Elijah Shabazz, his connection to the African continent was the OAU. That was all of Malcolm established that. When you understand the history of the Black Power movement, Malcolm was the one that established the Black Power movement. When you understand the Black Panther Party, you understand Malcolm, Bobby Seals, Huey Newton, that was in Oakland, California. The West Coast representative, understand Mark Clark in Chicago, Illinois, chapter of the Black Panther Party. These were brothers and sisters who had connection to the Black Power movement, to Malcolm X. All of that was Malcolm. This is history, y'all. And it's important that you understand that. So anything else that you hear that people giving out misinformation is not true. It's not what happened. You got to know the history, and I can speak up on it because I was around, and plus I was involved in the movement during that time. That's why I can speak up on it. That's why I can set the record straight now. So understand the history is extremely important that we know this, y'all. And that when we speak and tell these stories, we speak correct, and we're telling the truth about exactly what happened during that period. Once again, let me say, the whole Black Power movement, if you don't know anything about the Black Power movement, that was established by Elijah Malik El-Shabazz. We're talking about the early 60s. The Black Power movement, that was established by Brother Malcolm. The Black Panther Party, the groundwork of the Black Panther Party was established by Elijah Malik El-Shabazz. See, understand, what you have to understand is that brothers and sisters had meetings. They had get-togethers. They had meetings where we met. We met with people. If it wasn't Malcolm, he was his representative. We met with them and we discussed the organization. We discussed the framework of establish a Black Power movement. Let me say this to you too. In case you don't know, the first mayor that was elected to a major city, first Black mayor that was elected to a major city, you know who that was? It was Gary Richard Hatchett in Gary, Indiana. That come out of the first Black Power movement. The Black people that got together in Gary, Indiana at that particular time. We're talking about 67, 68, early 60s. And there was I remember my brother from Chicago, may his soul rest in peace, Brother Charles Knox. We attended a meeting in Gary, Indiana. Over 1,000 some people was there at the meeting. They had an agenda and everything. And the consensus was that we should elect a Black mayor to a major city. We picked out Gary, Indiana would be a prime example because we had enough Black votes. We had enough people in politics to make it happen. So what the consensus was and what the vote was to select Richard Hatchett. He was mayor in Gary, Indiana for a long time. You go back and study your history, and you'll see where Richard Hatchett, the mayor of Gary, Indiana, he was the mayor for a long time in Gary, Indiana. But the consensus was at that meeting, like I said, took place in Gary, Indiana, early 60s, maybe like 1,000 people there. We had it in an auditorium, like a gym or something. Standing room only, that's what it was. And the consensus was to vote to have the first Black mayor. After that, when he won, then they went on and elected Harold Washington in Chicago. That was the second city, but Gary, Indiana was the beginning. And that come from the Black Power movement, all for the Black Power movement in the early 60s. This is history, y'all, Black history. This is it. And it's important that you know this because, like I said, so many people that be on the internet and so many people on social media be running their mouth and talking about history, and they be giving out incorrect information. Let me also say, too, in closing out on this segment, sometimes I hear people, and I don't know, maybe they're just misinformed, or maybe they have the wrong information. Every now and I hear people saying how the Black Panther Party came out of the gangs. No, it didn't. Let me be the first to correct that. The Black Panther Party came out of the oppression that black people were suffering in the black community at that particular time. Every major city that had a chapter of the Black Panther Party, the police oppression was up on the black community, especially in California, Illinois, all across the country, all across the country. So the Black Panther Party grew out of that, and plus, this is extremely important that you know this point. Plus, they were the first ones to establish a free breakfast program to feed the kids in the neighborhood before they went to school. Black Panther Party. Nobody else would do it. They had a free breakfast program right here in Des Moines, Iowa. And two of my brothers may Allah be pleased with Hadashah Mehran, and may Allah be pleased with Brother Charles Knox. They were members of the Black Panther Party here in Des Moines. They had a free breakfast program, did the same thing here in Des Moines, Iowa. They did it in Illinois. They did it in Chicago and California, all around the country. So understand, the free breakfast program was established by the one and only Black Panther Party. The founders of the Black Panther Party was Fred Hampton and was Bobby Seals and Huey Newton out of Oakland, California. The Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party was Fred Hampton and Mark Clark. That's who I was going to say. But the founders was Huey Newton, Bobby Seals out of Oakland, California. So once again, I just want you to know that when you hear people saying that the Panther Party came from gangs, no, that's not what it was. Understand, the Black Panther Party came out of the Black Power movement. That's where all that came from. Gangs wasn't. I don't even remember hearing nothing about no gangs during that time. If they were involved in the movement, but nothing grew out of that. Everything that happened during that time came out of the Black Power movement. I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about because I was part of that, and I was involved, and I was living and involved in the movement at that particular time. We're talking about the early 60s. That's what we're talking about. So once again, I want to share that information with you because I think that's extremely important. If you have any questions, any kind of, please feel free to, let me know. We'll try to put this video out there in as many places as we can to, get the word out and just kind of let people know about what's going on and what's happening with the whole movement, and then mainly the biggest aspect of this is the history. Understand the history. Understand what has happened back then, and understand today's time as we relate all this to history.